On today's show, what kind of confidence do you have in the Mavs front office this summer to successfully have a great offseason? We'll talk about that and more of your answers on the Dallas Mavericks on today's Locked On Mavs.
I'm Luka Doncic, and this is Locked On Mavs.
Mavericks, NBA champions. It's good, and the Mavericks have won the game.
If you don't believe, you shouldn't be here.
Loyalty never fades away.
And welcome. You are locked on to the Dallas Mavericks. My name is Nick Angstadt, media member and NBA channel manager for the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks for being part of the show, making Locked On Mavs your first listen every day. Subscribe or follow for free wherever you get your podcast. Just search Locked On Mavericks. The best way you can help us grow the show is to listen every day and to comment anything below. Let us know in the comment section below. What's your confidence level in the Mavs front office? 5, the highest, 1, the lowest. Talk about that a little later. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time app. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. And also, if you want to support the show, text us, get text alerts from us on Mavs rumors and more stuff throughout the offseason. Subscribe to our subtext. Click the link in the description wherever you're listening or watching this show. Joining me, as always, my co-host, writer, contributor at Mavs.com. The survey sultan, the one more thing king. What you got for me, Isaac Harris?
Nick, where were you during the most exciting 2 minutes in sports over the weekend?
The Kentucky Derby?
Yes, it's exactly what I'm talking about.
I was living life. I was playing Jedi Survivor is what I was probably doing.
You chose Jedi Survivor over the Derby?
Yeah. Which horse won? You could say literally anything because they're all named ridiculous names, and I would have no idea.
So it was a horse called Lakers Suck, and
I've heard that horse was good.
Yeah, it's pretty good. It's one I bet on. No, listen, I don't bet on the Derby quite often at all, but my horse won this year, and I was pissed because I didn't do anything with it. I was like, pick the winner and everything, but no, it's. From Kentucky, Derby's big thing. A lot of Derby parties back home. And I'd say the crossover, the Venn diagram of people who listen to this pod and watch the Derby, it's a big demographic. So
did you wear a cool hat? Did you wear like a nice hat?
No, but you have a drink, the mint juleps. Also, real quick, Mavericks note. This is not part of the Derby thing. I don't know why I just thought of it. Luka was in a picture on Instagram of the great Ronaldinho, the soccer player for Brazil.
Ooh.
Two goats in one picture.
There you go. How about that? 2 goats for the price of 1. On today's show, we'll get into Tim Cato of The Athletic made a Mavericks survey. He's been doing this every year recently.
Thanks, Tim, for the content.
Yeah,
really appreciate it.
Appreciate you, buddy.
Yeah.
Giving us a full
I'll buy you a beer soon.
Full episode today. We'll talk about the biggest reason for failure for the Mavericks this past season. We'll talk about the confidence in the front office that people have. I think it's really interesting. Grades for players. We'll talk about if they want to keep or trade. It's basically what Mavs fans want, and it's a pretty big amount of fans. It was like over 5,000 fans voted on this, so that's a big sample size. So we'll talk about all those things, but let's start here. The Dallas Mavericks have a big offseason ahead of them. Luka Doncic signed, frustrated, showing signs of frustration for the first time since being a Dallas Maverick. We saw it this past season for various reasons.
I don't know where you got that 5,000 number, but
there was the amount of people that voted.
The first line in his things, we received 1,872 responses.
Okay, that was the points. 5,000 points for one of them. So over 1,000.
Yes. Anyway, I was like, I pulled it up. And I was like, wait, is that 5,000?
I had they did ranked choice for one of them, and there's 5,000 points.
And I think you need to acknowledge he actually puts this in there. The online fans who are engaged enough to participate in this probably have collective biases that affect these results. So we need to throw that disclaimer.
We'll talk
in there
about
also.
what the voting was and what we think, what our choice would have been.
Yeah, I'll share how I voted in this, and I'll share because there are a few answers that I had that differed from the fans, and yeah.
Now that we've got that straight, can I go back to my monologue?
So let's go back to the monologue, and
I know there's a writer's strike for Hollywood, like the late night shows, but we don't have to go on a writer's strike where we just stop with the This
Yes.
is an extremely important offseason for the Dallas Mavericks that's in front of them. Now I can't do the rest of it. And
Please tell me how this offseason is important. This offseason could define the next dynasty.
it could define the career of Luka Doncic. The confidence level for the Dallas Mavericks front office is low. According to this survey, again, of about 1,000 people, it's not 5,000. The confidence level that the Mavericks will have an offseason that you consider successful. I thought that the wording of this question was interesting. 1 being the lowest, so you have no confidence that the Mavericks will have a successful offseason, what you consider successful. 5 being the highest, you expect them to have a successful offseason according to what you think is successful. 1 got 23%. 2, the highest one, got 41%. 3, the next highest, 24%. 4 got 9%, and 5 got about 2%. So according to this survey, there's not a lot of people that have big success, that have big expectations or confidence in the Dallas Mavericks front office. Where did you vote on this and why?
Yeah, this one was tough for me. I voted. I realize now I put myself on a spot that I'm going to have to be honest. If I'm going to share my answers, I'm going to be honest.
We are. I think there are factors in this that are going to be hard for the Mavericks front office because like a lot of what they have to do this offseason, I voted for 2. I don't have a high expectation for them because I think they're limited in a lot of things. Like you're not talking about, all right, full cap space, multiple picks, young players you can trade. You're not looking at this with, hey, we got a lot of tools in the tool chest to be able to go out and have this front office. The stuff we've been talking about the last 2 or 3 weeks or so has been, all right, you're probably going to have some kind of mid-level exception. That's not a lot of money to spend. We just saw them try and spend it on JaVale last year. That was the big thing. We know that they have 2 picks. One of them may be the 10th pick in this draft, or maybe 2 future ones if they don't keep their pick. You have Josh Green, you have Jaden Hardy, and you have some contracts. Like, that's not a lot to work with. So I don't, and they have a bunch of holes to fill. So I don't expect them to be able to pull it off and have a completely successful offseason. So I'm lower on this because I think that they don't have a lot to work with. And I'm now not giving Nico Harrison the benefit of the doubt anymore, right? Like I was to start his first year, and after the Porzingis move, I was like, okay, great. It worked out for them. It seemed like the coach in the front office was in lockstep. And now I'm not so sure about it after this past year.
Yeah, I gave it a 3. And the reasons why I debated on a 4 because I am a little bit more optimistic for this offseason, but I've made it a 3 because of the reasons you said. I'm a little bit more optimistic because I do think Kyrie comes back. And I do think one of the things about Nico is he has shown a willingness to pull the trigger on trades. Mm-hmm. It's like he traded off Porzingis. He made the trade for Kyrie, 2 massive trades. And now he's also shown the willingness to trade off somebody that's beloved, that's been around the team for a while, Dorian Finney-Smith. So, it wouldn't shock me if he goes into this offseason saying, all right, like, we're going to make some drastic moves, and we're going to trade some pieces. We're going to get rid of some people. We're going to see an overhaul of the guys around Luka Doncic. So, I'm a little bit more optimistic about it, but I'm not higher just because it's not like they're walking into the offseason with a bunch of cap space or – all that different stuff. But
yeah, I just think that they're limited by what they're going to do. I think a successful offseason to me would be like adding.
You got to define that. Yeah, that's the other thing.
Yeah. To me, defining success would be starting center and 2 other rotation players. To me.
Yeah.
And not lose a ton out of it, right? Like you can't flop a bunch of switch a bunch of rotation players and say, okay, well we still have only 5 rotation players on this team and go into it. But one of the things that we've been saying since the beginning is if Dwight Powell's the starting center for the Dallas Mavericks going into the next season, it will be a failure. So that's one area of success. I think they need to add at least one wing that can play 40 minutes and can, in a playoff game and shoot and defend or at least just play 40 minutes somehow in some way. Those 2 things I think would make a successful offseason. And I think you got to also probably add another rotation player somehow. Some way in this. So I think that's what would be successful for an offseason, but we'll see what happens. I think that those answers were interesting to me, that there's low level, but it seems like everybody's voting where I was voting at this point. But coming up, let's talk about who you want to see return for the Dallas Mavericks. I thought this was interesting. Some of the veterans and the role players. We'll talk about who we would want to see return in what would make a successful offseason. We'll talk about that coming up. But before we do, let me tell you about the Game Time app. Game Time app has everything you need for buying tickets to your favorite events, and it makes it so that it's not stressful. It's a fast and easy way to buy tickets for all the sports, music, comedy, and theater near you. I've got it open right here. Dallas Stars Kraken at the Dallas Stars at the American Airlines Center on Thursday. See tickets for $50, $170, $80, $190, and those go down as well. You know that if you're checking out tickets, those are the playoff games. Those are big moments. Western Conference Finals, huge games. So
fun atmosphere.
If you're wanting to get some tickets, there's also some concerts on here. Jason Isbell, the Yeah. We've got Impractical Jokers at the College Park Center. Who else do we got here? Some weird stuff going on in Dallas. Dallas, what are you guys? What's going on this summer? But you can get all the concert tickets and all kinds of other stuff on the Game Time app. Check it all out. See what's available for you. Use the code LOCKEDON for $20 off at the Game Time app. Download the app today. Boys to Men.
Oh, let's go. On
the 14th. There you go. You can go check out Boys to Men. Go check it out. Again, Aerosmith. Snag tickets. Download the Game Time app. Create an account. Use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. First purchase. Terms apply. Create an account. Redeem the code LOCKEDONNBA. Download Game Time. Last minute tickets. Lowest prices guaranteed. All right, Isaac Harris, thanks everybody for hanging out with us and listening to Locked On Mavericks, making us your first listen of the day. On tomorrow's show, we'll talk about what if the Mavericks get the 4th pick in the draft, the final installment of our series, and what if the Mavericks in the lottery. So lottery is next week. We'll do the 4th pick tomorrow. All right. Other thing that I think that stood out on this survey. So we're talking about the Athletic survey. Tim Cato surveyed, just like Family Feud, he surveyed 1,000 Mavericks fans and asked them what
2,000.
The confidence level in re-signing Kyrie. This is something you mentioned in the first part. The confidence level in re-signing Kyrie. Again, 1 is the lowest, so you have no confidence. 5 is the highest. 1 got 5.6%. 2 got 15%. 3 got 33%. 4, 38%. That was the highest. And then 5, 7.8%. So it seems like the majority of people are in the 3 to 4 range. They're not really sure. They're kind of like in the middle, or they're fairly confident in Kyrie returning. Where'd you vote and why?
I voted 4 on this. I mean, I think one of the things that's helping fan confidence in this is the Lakers run in the playoffs right now. It's still happening. It feels like the further they go in the playoffs.
One good thing came out of it, right? For Mavs fans.
No. God, I hate the Lakers. But if, Lakers go to the conference finals, Lakers go to the finals, it's going to be kind of hard for them to justify like just trading off 3 or 4 of these pieces to get, Kyrie in there. And
yeah, when you go to the conference finals, you don't want to make big sweeping changes to where you lose a player that really helped you get there.
You never do that. So
why would you do that?
So that's where like a lot of people just think the Lakers are the biggest, play for them, kind of the same as the Suns, as another, option. Now, obviously, I've said this before, would not shock me if another team comes out of nowhere that's like rumored to be interested in him, like a Clippers or something like that, and to make sure that he gets his money from Dallas. But I'm pretty confident he's coming back for Dallas right now on, May 8th.
I think I put 3 on this because I should be a 4 based on all the reports, the rumors, what we've heard from Stein, what we've heard from the Athletic and other places. I can't bet on Kyrie to do anything. Like I don't know at this point, and I think that's a fair thing to say.
Definitely wouldn't bet on it
at this point in his career, and not even for his off the court stuff. It's more for like him being a flight risk for his teams. We've seen him be fine in Brooklyn to start the season, and then all of a sudden demand a trade. We've seen him in Boston like be at a kid's school and say, I'm definitely coming back. I'm definitely re-signing. And then he didn't. And then he demanded a trade and left and demanded a trade from Cleveland. Like we've seen him in past stops. Hey, go for it. Find the best situation for you. I hope that Dallas is, because I don't think the Mavericks can have a successful offseason without him. And I think that it's sunk cost for them at this point. But yeah, I'm a little less confident just because of, and I'm not like a 2 or a 1. I'm not assuming that he's not. I'm kind of assuming that he is.
Yeah.
But confidence level cannot be super high for me. Who do you want to see return? I thought that this was an interesting spot in the survey. Which veterans would you not mind seeing return, basically? Like, do you want to see on the Mavericks next year? 71.6% said Maxi Kleber. That was the highest one by far. Like, by far. The next one is 40% with Bullock. Why do you think it's so everybody voted for Maxey to come back, and basically no one else was even a majority? Like, you could vote for more than one in this one, by the way. So you could vote for Maxey, you could vote for Bullock, Tim Hardaway, Christian Wood, Dwight Powell, JaVale, Bertans, or none. and 71% voted for Maxey, and it was the highest by far. Why do you think the majority of people voted for him?
Well, I think fans have seen how versatile he is on both ends of the floor, that he can pick a pop with Luka. Even, I would say even the casuals of the casual Mavs fans that are not watching Mavs Hornets on a Tuesday night, that watch the that watch the Mavs last, postseason, watching Maxey shooting 50% from three and just draining threes in the playoffs. They remember that guy, right? Like, we talked last, postseason round. We're like, man, this is gonna, really like cement like some of these like role players in like their memories into the casual Mavs fans. So yeah, I mean, and he just brings something at the center spot that, yeah, like not many teams have in like a role playing type of guy. He can't be a full-time starter or anything like that, but like to have a guy like Maxey that can defend the rim, that can hit a three, that can switch off on these bigger fours, these athletic fours. You got to have guys like that. So I thought that was awesome for Mavs fans to do that.
Yeah, I thought it was a good vote of confidence, and I agree. I voted for Maxey in this and a couple others, and I think that it's hard to replace what he does. It's hard to replace the big that can switch, that can also shoot the three, that can space the floor like that, can play a 4 or a 5 in small ball type situations. Like you've seen the versatility that he can add.
Yeah, I also wonder if his injury and him coming back, and like he tore his hamstring last year, like massive injury, and him coming back and not looking fully himself. If a lot of fans equate the bad defense to Maxey, it was more than Maxey being out and not being healthy. They needed more than Maxey, but it did play a factor into that. So I voted for Maxey on this.
Maxey also in the player grades the player grades were based on your expectations for the season. So how would you
Christian Wood was funny.
Give it a letter grade based on your expectations? Maxey 44% got a C, 33% gave him a D. So people expected him to be a little bit better, and then he wasn't. So maybe it was on the injury, but most people want him back, which is fascinating because that's not the same for like Christian Wood or JaVale or somebody else who got similar grades as him.
Yeah.
But yeah, Maxey Kleber by far the next one. Bullock was the next one. I voted for Bullock. I also voted for Dwight because I think him coming back on a minimum, I think is fine if that's what it's going to be. It all depends on how they're coming back, but I wouldn't mind seeing him come back.
Exactly.
Again, he has to be in a backup role. It has to be a guaranteed backup center spot. He can't be the starting
third center.
Yeah, seriously. Which he was to start the season last year. He was getting DNP CDs. It just ended up not being that way towards the end. But who did you vote on? Who did you vote for this and why?
Wait, for
who do you want to receive return next season?
Oh yeah. I voted for Maxey and I voted for Reggie, and that's it.
That's fine. So you didn't vote for Tim, Christian Wood, JaVale, or Bertans?
No, I didn't. No. I don't think a lot of them will be back. I think Dwight, there's a chance for Dwight on a super cheap contract,
which is fine. I think that would be fine at this point. I'm at the point with Tim Hardaway Jr. where I'm done with the roller coaster experience, where I'm done with sometimes he makes 6 threes and most of the time he misses 8 threes and then shoots you out of games and then becomes harder to play defense. Like, I think I'm done with that.
He's been on the trade block too long. Not John Collins-esque, but for them to really shake some things up and to bring another piece or two this offseason, they're gonna have to use his contract.
Yeah, absolutely. 11% voted for none. What do you think about that group of people that don't want to see any of these guys come back, that just want a complete overhaul of the roster?
I mean, I think that's a little bit overreaction, but
why?
Well, because I think some of these guys are solid role players, and it's never going to happen for you just to overhaul the entire roster outside of 2 people.
The Lakers would disagree. The Lakers have done that 3 times in the last 4 years.
But some of these guys are, they're quality role players. Like, I would want them on this Mavs team.
Yeah, they're just miscast in higher spots because of losing the 3 players ahead of them in Brunson, Dorian, and Spencer Dinwiddie. Like all of a sudden they got thrust up 3 roles in that. So, but coming up, who's to blame the most for the season's failures? I thought this question was fascinating in the ranked choice aspect of it and the actual who voted for the most. Front office, coaching, or ownership. Talk about that coming up. But before we do, let me tell you about Prize Picks. Prize Picks is daily fantasy made easy. You can check out Prize Picks during the playoffs. It's got to be super fun. Also for NHL, but definitely for NBA. You can go see what's available. Let's go Sixers Celtics, tied 2-2 now. Tuesday, game 5. Huge one in Boston. Joel Embiid, 28.5. More or less points.
More.
Come on, 28.5. That's a layup. Jason Tatum, this one's hard. 28.5 for Jason Tatum. He's either had good games or bad games so far.
More.
Wow. James Harden, 21.5 points.
More.
Interesting. You put that. Let's just do one more. Jaylen Brown, 23.5.
Less.
Okay, there's your one less. Put down $20. I can win 100 if I hit the power play on that. I could win 200 just on $20. So check that out. See what else is available. You can combine that with MLB, NHL, other kind of things throughout the night. 100% deposit match up to $100 and use the promo code Locked On. So again, download the PrizePicks app. Go to PrizePicks.com. Use the promo code Locked On. All right, Isaac Harris. Thanks everybody for hanging out with us on Locked On Mavs. We're talking about this athletic survey. Tim Cato put up this survey for Mavericks fans. 1,000 people voted in it.
1,800.
1,800. So you even lied earlier.
I said 1,800 and something.
One of the questions was the biggest reason for failure last season for the Dallas Mavericks. This one,
I might plead the fifth on this one.
This one you ranked. No way. This one you ranked for. We've talked about this several times on this show.
Well, not the angle that I went.
So there's 4 things: players and players' performance, ownership and current overall direction of the team, coaching, and front office. How did you rank these and why? And I'll just sit back and take a drink here.
I put coaching second, and I put player performances last.
And then the middle?
And third, I had one of the other two. I don't think I can remember what the other 2 were. What was your order?
My order was I put ownership 1 because of the Brunson thing. I think that was all on ownership.
All ownership.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think he screwed I think they screwed the pooch on that because Nico was coming into a situation and he had to kind of direct the situation. But I think, and then Mark Cuban had that quote right after the season where he goes, "We can offer him the most money." And then he didn't. And then he didn't offer him the most. And then he had the thing this past year where he was like, "Well, we never got to see the number." Who cares? Give him whatever you can give him at that point. So I'm putting it on ownership. That was the number 1. They got the most number 1 votes. The most this was the most biggest reason for failure. Got the most number 1 spots. I actually then go front office 2 because of the other stuff, and then coaching 3. Those are close for me, and then I went players 4 as well.
So you went the same order as the fans.
I did, yeah.
Yeah.
No, because if you look at it, this is why it's interesting to me. If you did it just by who got the most number of which place votes, it was front office, or it was ownership, then it was front office, then it was coaching. But if you did it by ranked choice, so you put 4 gets 1 point, 3 gets 2 points, and so on. 1 gets 4 points or whatever. Said who got the most points. This is why I got confused earlier. Said that there was 5,000. This is how close it was overall. If you did it by ranked. Front office, 5,098. Coaching, 5,061. Ownership, 4,907. It's all within 200 points of each other. That's how close it all was. And everybody had those 3 things super high up on their list.
And what that tells me is there's a little bit wider of a difference between fans about Mark Cuban than the other 2. Right? That it would take ownership got number more first place votes than all the other ones.
Yeah.
But whenever you gave them a point total and like all that,
And
it
ranked
dropped
him.
it down to third. So that tells me he, it got enough fourth place votes or third place votes to bring it down compared to the other two that was collectively
that fan base I think is definitely split to whatever degree on Mark Cuban for sure. There's some that think he's one of the worst owners in sports, which I think is ridiculous, and some that think that he's still a great owner probably at a certain point. And I also think that a lot of people, you didn't make the connection between the Brunson thing and ownership, and I did.
No.
I make that connection, and so I think a lot of people that voted him number one would make that connection, and you didn't necessarily make that.
No, I didn't. No, I voted in a different way.
But they're so close across the board. I mean, this season was just an abject failure on all three of those levels, and it didn't.
And the fans agreed with that. I thought that was, the very first question on there, results of, Tim's, thing was, 1,200 of the 1,800 votes ranked it at 5 as like, 1 through 5, 1 not being a failure, 5 being like an utter failure.
You have a top 5 player on your team, and you didn't make the playoffs. Like, there's no way it can't be a 5. I mean, there are some people that voted 1 and 2 on that. I can't imagine what their rationale is.
No, come on. No, that's a joke. Can I tell you one that I was in the minority of the fans on?
Yeah.
And it was kind of like it's just opinion based on this one. Was what moment from the season felt the best as a fan?
Oh, I was with the fans on this one. I voted for the Knicks 60-point moment. That was
66% went with, Luka's 60-point game.
That was a great
I was in the 11 percentile of like Luka and Kyrie both going for 40 against.
That was a great
Sixers.
Moment too.
Because for me,
for the Knicks game, you were on the opposite side of the court. Let's be fair. We were both in the building, but you were on the far end. I was closer to it.
Well, yeah, we're both in the game on the floor for a 60
saying, your perspective of it was different than mine, and so I can understand why you didn't have it as
a lot of fun. Yes, I think that game. I voted that one as the best moment because it was that game where I'm like, I mean, my mind was going everywhere with what this duo could be and what this team could be. And you trade for Kyrie, both of those guys putting up 40 in a game. I was thinking, like, kind of like what Booker and KD's doing right now. Like, oh man, look what they could do. And that was just one of my, and against Philly and those guys, that was a lot of fun, man. Gosh, it feels so long ago.
It was.
What do you think about the Christian Wood like grading by the fans? Because for me, it was so fascinating for me because on this one, it was a weird grade because my expectations weren't very high. So like, I actually gave it like a B.
Yeah. I gave him a C. Grade based on your expectations. And so you're like, okay, if he gets an A, then my expectation for him was to be one thing, and he ended up being so much better. So I gave Josh Green like an A because I expected him. I expected him to be like a 9th, 10th man, and I was hoping, like at the beginning of the season, remember I was trying to talk you into hoping that he would be like a 9th man, and he ended up being a rotation starter type player. So that was great. He got an A from me. But Christian Wood, I went with C, and that's what the majority of fans went, 42% on this one. The next highest was D at 26%.
Yeah. And that's just like that part of it's like wild to think about. I don't think anybody really knew what the expectation was. Like, did front office fans, it's like the expectation for Christian Wood this season was all over the place. That's why it's like, I feel like I got slammed pretty hard early in the season when I was like, I just need kind of like him or Tim off the bench, like one of those.
Well, you got slammed by some people that still believe that Christian Wood was like the answer to the Mavericks that they never unlocked and still never like used him the right way. And some people talking about how the Mavericks treated him so terribly and like, went way too far with how they abused him with the minutes. And I'm like, all right, let's calm down. Like it really, he isn't like, it's not like he was this all NBA player and waiting that the Mavericks just misuse. Like we've seen him in other spots and he's only been good on bad teams so far. So
I mean, I don't know if I want to.
I'm not coming out on a limb and defending Christian Wood to that degree at this point, but
no,
I think he should have gotten a little more playing time. Like I can agree with that, but not say it was abject. Like
I think it's pretty safe to say that there's more teams around the league that feel like Dallas about him. Than you.
Well, nobody wanted to trade for him.
Yes,
for 3 years now. The Rockets wanted to trade him for 2 years, and the Mavericks have now wanted to trade him. So,
but hey, the Mavs put up over 20 social posts. Anything else about
53% said if you get the 10th pick, they would want to trade it. 46% said to keep it. I think that's kind of in line with what we've been thinking.
Yeah, I wanted to bring that too. I thought that was kind of fascinating. That it's almost, it's basically split.
Yeah.
There's a part of me would think that I thought the percentage of trade would be much higher, but just because like it's Luka, win now, Kyrie, we gotta. I don't know.
Fans love a draft pick though.
They do. It's a lot of fun bringing a young guy in. And,
we got our boy.
Hardy, let's go party.
We are all in on the Jaden Hardy experience, and I didn't even want to draft him because I was low on him in our draft profile. But yeah, that one was interesting.
That's another thing for Nico too, is right now. I mean, I still think the jury's out. I still think we got to give Hardy time. You know, I've seen some people label it as, man, he hit a grand slam with Jaden Hardy. It's like, okay, well, let's chill.
Well, the second round pick so far.
It does look really good. Yes.
He got 4 second place votes for second team all rookie this year.
Let's go. But like that's it. Like he deserves credit for that. Yeah, and I'm excited for him. I'm really curious to see how his development will play into some of this offseason stuff. We're
gonna see him at Summer League probably.
Yeah, will his development impact, like it probably won't, because Tim have already been on the trading block, but like there's a version of that that you look at it and say that's another added thing to Tim Hardaway being moved is, all right, well, Jaden Hardy could step naturally into that scoring 2-guard role off the bench that Hardaway was.
And he can drive.
And he can drive.
Let us know what you think about this survey. Let us know what confidence you have in the front office in the comment section below. We'll be back tomorrow with what the Mavericks would do with the 4th pick if they got this one. This was a really interesting one with trades and all that. Guys, thanks so much for listening to Locked On Mavs.
Peace out.
Boom.